and we are off. Let's go. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, me too. It's cool, cool. I'm not sure if no, I haven't mentioned, but it's like impromptu conversation. So there is, there's no questions prepared at all, and we're just having a, heart-to-heart conversation.
I like it.
Is
I
that
like
all
it.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine by me. I'm good to go.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, no questions prepared, but obviously we will be asking some questions or talking about stuff, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, I've been a member of your group, right, for
Oh
some
yeah,
time, and I know
sure.
that, and from your posts on Facebook, I know that you definitely promote self acceptance and authenticity. So yeah, if you like to talk about this, that would be great because that's a subject very close to my heart as well.
Yeah, I think that, I had a lot of childhood trauma and some abuse. We're going there. We're diving off the deep end right away.
Right, right. Don't worry,
uh,
everything is allowed.
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, uh, some childhood abuse. I had some sexual abuse in my childhood, and consequently, I think that it took me down some dark paths very early on in my life. Uh, and but also offered me a different worldview than maybe some others have that have a simpler childhood or a simpler life.
Mm.
And because of that, I became an overachiever. I became what I call the best little boy in the entire world.
All right.
And I was going to be the greatest and the best and the most important person in the entire world.
Okay.
And that was the opposite of self-acceptance, to be honest.
Right.
It
Mm-hmm.
was me just, I'm gonna conquer the world, but
Mm.
which led to a lot of hardship. And yes, triumphs. Yes, I did some fantastic things in my life, but internally I was hurting. And I wasn't really
Yeah.
dealing with the emotional life and the pain that I was really experiencing inside. And I was running from it in
Mm.
this idea of, and on the outside, to the outside eye, it looked like I had a fantastic, phenomenal life, very successful, but it was not as successful on the inside. And it all kind of came to a head when I was at the Tony Awards for Broadway. I'd produced a show, and I'll never forget it because I was sitting in the fourth row, and Bernadette Peters walked on the stage, and she had the envelope, and she opened it, and she said the name, and everyone around me stood and was hugging and excited, and I remember in my head being like, this
Mm.
is it. This is
Mm-hmm.
it. This doesn't feel right. And I'm walking
Right.
up to the stage and it's like slow mo. It feels like slow mo.
Mm.
People will say it's like an out of body experience when this happens. And it was. I'm walking and I'm like, this isn't how this is supposed to feel. As I'm about to go up onto a stage to accept this award, I'm like, this isn't how this is supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Oh my God, get back into your body, Nick. I'm like having this conversation with myself. And that was a turning point for me of, oh, I have some real work to do. Because if this, the pinnacle of my success, isn't enough, what's going to be
Mm.
enough?
What's next? Yeah. Yeah.
What's enough? When will I be enough?
Right.
Um, so that really led me on a path of deep therapy work, trauma therapy, ancestral healing, but also a yogic path of sitting with a teacher, meditation, asana every day.
Mm.
Because there was a lot in my body, a lot trapped in the body that had to get out.
Right. Mm.
So, so when you say, oh, you're a proponent for, that's why.
Self-acceptance. Yeah,
That's
that's why.
why.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is that, it's quite universal, right? Then we have to go through the hardship and learn the lessons, and then we become like kind of like whether we want it or not, but it's like you just become this guide for people who have similar experiences, but you kind of know how to navigate
Yeah.
those territories. Yeah.
I mean, it's the ultimate hero's guide. It's the tale as old as time, the hero's story, right? The hero
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
that's
Hero's journey.
is
Yeah,
called,
yeah.
yeah, the hero's journey. Set out onto adventure. It
Right.
finds a guide, has conflict, goes through the
Yeah.
trials and tribulations to come to a tipping point, and at the tipping
Mm.
point, then the change occurs, and when the change occurs, they return home with the elixir to
Mhm.
begin to tell the story to somebody else, to share the wisdom.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
is the ultimate hero's journey.
Yeah. And it's like a cycle. Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
next person is kind of like on the same wheel, or not the same, but similar. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we hope that we get wiser as time goes, and that
Uh-huh.
the cycle, the circle or the cycle gets
Right.
less
Hmm.
intense for people, that we don't repeat patterns, but there's always patterns out there, you know?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And I kind of liken this journey of like the of self when it comes to self-awareness, that you kind of go down into the underworld with a shovel and you scoop out some shit and throw it into the light,
Yeah.
and then you kind of like bask in that light for a little bit until you are ready to move through the next layer, and then you
Yeah.
go down again, and you kind of like make space for more light to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
To like enter your cells and your body, your awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, I spent, even when I had, turned the light on, you know, so to speak, had turned the light on my shit, I felt this need to wallow in it. I wallowed in my stuff for so
Right.
long. It became an identity
Mm-hmm.
in a way, that I'm the victim. Poor me. For
Mm-hmm.
years. For years, even as I was like shining the light on it, I was like, oh, okay, we're looking at this now. We're looking at it. But there was this part of me that was still so attached to what had happened to me, and how
Yeah.
dare this happen to me. And I was still in this victim and not taking some responsibility. Now, I let me be very clear. I'm not saying that what happened to me was right, but it was my responsibility to heal from it, not
Right.
sit in the
Mm-hmm.
shit,
Yeah.
not sit in it. Right. And there
Yeah.
is a
I
period where you have to sit,
Yeah,
but
I
then there
resonate
becomes,
with this deeply. Yeah, I had the same. Yeah, I had a period of my life when I started becoming aware, and that was also the period when I had this syndrome of spiritual ego. Like you
yeah,
become aware of stuff, but at the same time you are not aware actually of the blaming game that you are. You are kind of like. Uh, expressing all the time, even in the back of your mind, and yeah, it's funny how we, but it is like a stage, I suppose. Yeah,
it
maybe
is a stage.
yeah, at
It's
least it was for
important.
me. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
important because you're taking back your autonomy in many ways, right?
Right,
The power that was taken from you, you're taking it back. And that
right.
is an important stage to be in. I often call it the spiritual Olympics, Like that I almost let you create this hierarchy, like I'm more spiritual, I'm more
Yeah.
enlightened, this ego that you have, and you're like, I'm the gold
Yeah.
medal winner of the spiritual Olympics, you're the silver, you know
Yeah. I can see more than you can see.
yes, I
Yeah.
can see more than you can see right now,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, but the same, I had, my childhood didn't, wasn't full of like physical abuse or anything of that, but it was definitely time when I felt very alone and emotionally, I felt very detached from my
Yeah,
parents, and I could, yeah, I could say that, oh, they, because they were cold, and therefore, but to be honest, I had a sense when I go back in the hindsight, I can see myself already having this story in my mind as a child that I'm not going to even talk to my mom or my dad about how I'm feeling because I already assumed that they would not be interested.
yeah, I do know.
And obviously there was like a feedback loop. So when I felt criticized or like kind of like whatever I said wasn't accepted or wasn't even taken into consideration and was just dismissed or I was told to shut up or
Yeah,
so then it kind of like that yeah, that informed this belief that that I wouldn't be able to communicate with them on emotional level on that in this sphere of life. And but definitely that shaped my my teenage years and me as an adult, and that shaped the way I showed up in relationships. Definitely, there was now I looking at my past relationships. I could see where my mom shit was playing out through me and when my dad's shit was playing
yeah.
out through me. And it's fascinating that we we kind of like see all that, but in hindsight, yeah, we kind of like we slowly evolve to the moment where we can spot that in the moment, actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it takes time. Yeah.
not dissimilar. I grew up in a household that was fairly distant or cold,
Right.
and I was told if I had an emotion to go to my room and shut the door and have the emotion
Oh, okay.
privately.
Right. Mm.
That
So
was not to
so
be
like
just
metaphorically or rather literally, it's like shut down your emotions. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And don't have them publicly. You can have them, but go
Right.
have them in
Yeah.
private. Don't
Yeah.
show it
Yeah.
to any of us.
Hmm.
And so consequently, the abuse to be clear, the abuse that I experienced was outside the home. So I went and I was looking, now I can see as an adult that went outside of the home to look for a form of love, of intimacy.
Right.
And I found somebody who would prey on me, right? Because I
Mm.
was so vulnerable, because I
Hmm.
was so open to needing that. I was so needing that attention
Mm.
that I wasn't
Yeah.
getting at home. Not for for any reason. My parents are wonderful people. It's not, they just didn't have the skills or the tools because they weren't raised that way,
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
both of them came, I can, when you can pull back the lens as an adult, you go, oh, my father had a single mother in the 50s.
Mm.
That was not normal. He
Yeah.
didn't
You
have
start
any role
connecting
model.
dots. Yeah. Yeah.
My mother lost, her father died when she was 12.
Mm.
They both were raised by single mothers who worked. They didn't have any sense of, there was no time for emotion in that family.
Mm.
So in both of those families. So when you can pull back the lens like you're talking about, you can really see more of the bigger picture. And I think that's
Yeah.
so important when you're on the self-acceptance journey in that healing process, to be able to pull back the lens. It's like a camera. Like,
Right.
you're in the like You're in the
Right.
close-up all the time. But if you can
Yeah.
pull back the camera and see the full
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah. Like they say, you zoom out. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
see this picture of your life, like from bird's eye view. I call it, like writing your story from your soul's point of view.
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically we get to see all these themes and patterns that we decided to experience in this life, and those people in our life were like, like players in the game, yeah, like
Yeah.
actors, and
Yeah.
and yeah, they played certain role, and we played certain role in their life, and it's so intricately orchestrated, all this, all those dynamics between people, and how we learn from each other, and how on soul level we learn from each other. That is marvelous, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's truly amazing when you can get there to see that. When you're in it, it doesn't feel so amazing,
Right. Yeah, of
right?
course.
Because
Yeah.
you can't yet see that. And when you
Yeah.
can get to the point where
Yeah.
you can, and you can
Mm,
see that you're learning from each of these experiences, you're
mm,
learning, your soul is growing, there's an evolution of why you came to the planet.
yeah.
To when you can see that, then things will shift.
Right.
But
Right.
that takes
As
some
long,
time.
yeah, and as long as you are emotionally involved, in a way that you are, there are those strings that hold you and that person. There is that kind of, like they say, cut the cord, like
Yeah.
there are exercises like cutting the cord. So if that cord is still strong, and you still blame that person, of, there is animosity between the two of you, and that's very much so alive, then obviously your lens is blurred out, because you cannot see what was the lesson in that, what was the gift, right, in this challenge.
And that's not even just family, that's everyone,
Yeah,
right?
that's everyone. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And
I mean,
yeah,
our family, the cords are pretty, pretty strong with family
right.
because of the formative years and
Mhm.
but it's beyond family. It's every individual that you interact with, that you come into
Right.
contact
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah. Everyone is. I recently spoke to someone, and I was kind of like saying that I see it like everyone is, mirror to the piece of myself,
Yeah.
that I need to know about myself. That's why that person is in my life, to highlight something, to reflect back,
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime somebody bothers me, I say, okay, there's that mirror. What is it in
Right.
you
Yeah.
that this is bringing up? What is this
Right.
reflection? What is it that you
Right.
don't like about yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. What part of myself I don't accept yet? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Because I'm not
Yeah.
accepting them for where they are, who they are. So it's clearly actually about me. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, if somebody would do something that I don't like or I don't think is right or whatever, I might just I'd go, okay, that's where they're at. I
Yeah.
get that.
Okay. That's your business, right?
That's your
And yeah.
business. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
But
my business.
yeah, if
But
it triggers
if
you,
it gives me
yeah.
a big charge, then it's something
Right.
within me that's unresolved.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, and this is a big shift, isn't it? It's that shift from blaming to taking responsibility for your own emotions and your own reactions,
Yeah.
and and response and responsibility is like the word is, that these two words are like intricate. I mean, they are just like one comes from another, right?
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, there's
They're words we
definitely
don't generally love. You know, we don't necessarily like those words, but
No, no,
they're
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, definitely they are like this, yeah, and like the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
is that, empowerment is hidden. That the gift of empowerment is in that responsibility, which is not very comfortable, right?
And that's really what, when they talk about stepping into authentic power, that's what they're talking about ultimately.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's and you know, and very interesting because when we are in this blaming game, then of course we cannot see our own power because we give our power away by
Yes.
saying that, oh, you know, that person's behavior or words were bigger than my power, right?
Yeah. The minute you
And
say it's your fault, you're giving
yeah,
away your power.
right. And at the same time, you cannot really be authentic because then if you are giving power away, then you don't have that power in your in yourself, in your awareness to show, right, to express.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, very interesting. Those connections are.
Well, and
Yeah.
I want to make it clear though that it's also not. That doesn't mean that you don't stand up for injustice.
Hmm.
Because I think sometimes people then think, oh, I'm supposed to be a complete pacifist and not stand up for others when they're, being slighted and with, everything going
Right.
on in the world.
Yeah.
You can't not also stand for what is right, but that's within your
Hmm.
power. There's different than that and blaming, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Standing up
Of
for
course.
injustice,
Hmm.
that's different than
Yeah.
blaming.
Yeah, and I feel that this is definitely something that is very personal, and everyone has their own, you know, feeling. And if we follow this inner authority, then we know what is,
Exactly.
you know, what's the
Agreed.
cause we want to stand up for, and what we actually feel that we need to stand up for, right? And
Yeah,
yeah,
and what
so
we don't. It's
yeah, and
also
when we don't,
discernment.
yes,
It-
absolutely, yeah, it is like
because if
trusting
you
what feels right. Yeah,
it's what feels right to you, because if you stood up
yeah.
for every injustice in the world, you'd have a headache all day long.
Right. Yeah. Or you
You
wouldn't
can't.
have a head. You wouldn't have a head anymore.
Yes, exactly.
It would blow up.
Yes. So we all pick and choose, right? What we stand for.
Right.
You have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, let's maybe talk a little bit about creativity and about what you are up to
Sure.
right now, and how you connect those two things. I mean, they are kind of intricately connected and always self-expression that is authentic will always be connected to, in my view, in my feeling, will be always connected uh, to being like a clear channel of the you know of the inspiration. So anyway, yeah, let's just dive into what you are up to and what you are enjoying these days.
Yeah. So I just finished two documentary films, right back to back. They were each 7-year projects. Um, one
Wow,
is,
interesting.
yeah, one's about fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain syndrome. My mother has fibromyalgia, and so I set
Hmm.
on a journey to follow 4 women with fibro.
Right.
Uh, and then in the process, was diagnosed myself. So that was a whole 7-year adventure. And
Hmm.
that film was complete about a year ago. It was last December. And so this year I've really been promoting that film. And then the second film is a film about body image, specifically in the LGBTQ plus community. And that was always meant to be a personal doc.
Hmm.
And we finished that film in June. And I've been on the film festival circuit with that film since. It's not yet out the way that Invisible, the first film, is, but that was a process, those projects. And
7 years.
7
I
years
can
each.
imagine. Yeah.
From inception to completion, 7 years each. And
Right.
to be honest with you, I hit a wall in August. Because in addition to that, I have a coaching business and I teach people how to use story
Right.
both in their marketing, but also in their lives, and
Hmm.
for self-acceptance and the inner stories.
Yeah.
And So I was running this business and I had 2 documentaries that I just finished back to back after 7 years, and I was promoting them and I'm going to these festivals, and I just hit this wall.
Right.
And I realized that I needed to take some time off.
Right.
Because I was ready to jump into my next project. I'm writing a book. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. And then it just like I was writing the outline and I was like, and then I just hit a wall. And I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, you need a bit of time. You need to refill your cup because it is empty.
Right.
You've been serving the tea out and you've not been refilling with
Uh-huh.
the well in, right? You haven't been giving yourself. And so I made the decision to take a bit of time off from my business. I shut down most of my groups. Um, I kept my one-on-one clients because I had to have income coming in, but I shut down quite a bit, and I went back to basics of refilling myself. Of reading again, reading. Imagine that,
Right.
real books from the
Right.
bookstore.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I
Yeah. Uh
yeah, I went back to yoga class, and I really did
huh.
things to really give myself some time and space after such an intense period of creation,
Right.
which I suggest to anyone. And I realized that I was no longer playing, which is something I talk about all the time
Uh-huh.
with my students and clients about creative play. And I was no longer playing.
All right.
And when I had
Did
that
you find yourself
realization,
in seriousness?
yes,
Over seriousness. Yeah.
over
Yeah. Yeah.
seriousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, everything I preach here and teach, I'm not doing. And so
Yeah.
I really had to turn inward a bit again
Right.
and allow that channel to be clear because it was cloudy. It was cloudy
Mm-hmm.
with everything from expectation of what the film should have been or could be, or who was going
Mm-hmm.
to purchase it and where it was going to end up. And like all the business stuff was really clouding my channel of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I allowed that to dissipate, as I allowed myself to be refilled with other people's work and
Mm-hmm.
inspiration and ideas, um, I feel much better. I
Mm.
feel like, oh
Good.
yeah, I'm clear again. Oh yeah,
Right.
I'm inspired again. I had gotten to this
Mm.
place where I was no longer inspired. I'm
Yes.
inspired again.
I know those moments. Yeah. But I'm just curious. How did your body react to to such overwhelm and such exhaustion? Like, because I'm guessing it was mental exhaustion first, right? And
Yes.
yeah, and did it have like physical repercussions as well?
Yeah, one of the things about having fibromyalgia is that it is, it's a brain syndrome ultimately, where the brain sends pain signals that are misguided, signals to the brain. It magnifies the pain,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and stress is one of the high indicators of it. So maintaining a fairly low stress life is important. And I had gotten into a bit of a stress cycle. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I was having physical symptoms that I
Mm-hmm.
don't typically have. I'm fairly asymptomatic because of the lifestyle that I have um, developed and cultivated over the years. And everything that, they tell people with fibromyalgia to do, I was already doing, from meditation to breath work to
Right.
healthy eating and
Mhm.
um but yes, there was physical manifestation because of that, and it gets heightened with fibromyalgia. Anybody that
Mhm.
was having that type of intensity for that period of time, as you said, would have mental friction first, and then it would go into the physical. And with fibromyalgia, that is heightened basically.
Yeah.
So I'd spent a couple afternoons in bed,
Mhm.
you know,
Only a couple. But
only a
yeah.
few, only a few. I am very careful.
Mhm.
I'm very careful, and here's why. I used to run myself ragged like this. I've learned the
Right.
lessons.
Uh-huh.
Even when I realize now that I'm in that cycle, because that's still that best boy trying to make everything great, right? When I
Yeah,
used to do,
I can sense that there is still that running that a little bit of that treadmill at the back of your mind, you know.
yes, of
Yeah.
course. And when I was younger, I would do it to depletion, and then I'd be
Hmm.
out for a week or two, not
Right.
realizing that I had fibromyalgia and not realizing, I would be out,
Yeah.
like not be able to walk out.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and now that I'm older and a bit wiser, just a bit, I can look at it and say, ah, there it is. So I caught it,
Right.
right? And then it was, okay, guess what? You're gonna go lie down so that
Hmm.
you're not wiping yourself out completely.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just an
And
awareness
on
thing.
daily, and on daily basis, would you say that fibro is connected to? Sorry, I'm just plugging in something. When is fibro connected to how you feel in general? I mean, no, the other way around. When you are like, when you feel chilled and you create, but it's not like a crazy pace. You know, you don't just run yourself ragged like you're saying, but you kind of pace yourself. How does it feel when it comes to fibro? Some, you know, I have a friend, dear friend, who has fibro too, and so I'm curious, you know, how those things work as well, because
So
autoimmune it's autoimmune disease, right?
yeah, for me, I I have found a way to manage it. So it's not part of my daily life.
Mm-hmm.
There are days where I feel better than others, but I think that's human. That's like a humanness. Even before
Yeah, yeah,
having fibro, there are days you feel great, and there are days you feel like, oh,
right.
I'm a little like, I don't know, I don't feel so
Yeah.
great today.
Sometimes you
Uh,
wake up and you feel like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
shitty,
Now,
shitty day today.
yeah, exactly. For
Yeah,
people with fibro, that's magnified because it's a pain
yeah,
sensor
okay.
thing.
Hmm.
But I have in general, I do a lot of things so that I can manage the pain. For instance, in general, I eat really clean because food, particularly gut issues, are a big part of fibromyalgia for
Okay.
lots of people. So eating really healthy every day, no matter, even if I'm at my worst day, I get
Hmm.
up, I get up and do my morning sadhana practice. Part
Right.
of that is it's actually better for somebody with fibromyalgia to move a little because
Hmm.
laying, even though it's the last thing in the world you want to do, like literally the last thing you want to do when you have a fibromyalgia flare up, they call it, is get up and move. But if you get up and
Okay.
move, you actually feel better. So I
Right.
force myself out of bed even on the worst possible day.
Hmm.
So and that consistency of that is super helpful. So, and I go to the gym in the afternoon, so I have another physical activity. It's just a lifestyle. And so consequently,
Right.
because I've built this lifestyle in general, I don't
Hmm.
have massive fibromyalgia problems.
Hmm.
It's
Oh,
not a part of my
that's
daily
cool.
basis. It's not a part
Yeah.
of my day other
Right.
than I live this lifestyle. So
Right.
therefore it is
Yeah.
without being, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It does. And that's, you know, there are certain like systems or schools of thought that say that 7 year cycle is very, very, you know,
Yeah.
very important, very like prominent in our life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not sure if you ever come across a system called Gene Keys.
Yeah. The gene key. Yeah.
Yeah, so in Gene Keys, in the Venus sequence, you have 7 year cycles
Mhm.
from 0 to 7, 8 to 14, and 14 to 21. Yeah, but it's like a completion. Yeah, is this when this cycles comes to the end, and so yeah, working. To be honest, I can't imagine working so long on one project. It's like, you know, I'm in the phase of starting editing my novel now. You know, yeah, I've edited a few chapters so far, but it's still very early, you know, stage of editing. But it's already the process. You know, ever since I started writing the first draft, it's already been probably around year and a half or something like that. So it seems to me like it is very long time, but I am enjoying the process, and I'm not even thinking about, about, oh, I have to finish it, whatever. It's, I know I will finish it when I finish it, and I'm fine with that. It's one of my kind of like in those little projects that, that take a little bit of time each day, but it's coming, it just step by step is being moved forward. Yeah,
Well,
but
each
7 years, it feels like a very long time, but it's
well,
I get.
but each creative baby has its own
Yeah,
gestation
of course.
process, right? Like
Plus plus you work with other people, right? So
oh
it's
my gosh, teams of people, hundreds of
yeah,
people work on these.
yeah,
And the thing about a documentary, the reason that it takes so long is that you raise some money because it's really hard, difficult to raise money for documentaries. So you
okay,
raise some money and you work and you film and then you run out of money and then you have to
right.
raise some more
Then
money and
you
then you keep
wait.
going.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process
Uh-huh.
and the story
Right.
is evolving because you're doing it in real time. You're
Uh-huh.
filming a story in real time. So it may evolve, so it may take longer. So it's this combination of those things that made it that long. Now, I come from the theater, like that's my real background, right? And
Right.
a Broadway show in general takes 7 to 10 years to get from beginning through the iteration process till it
Okay.
opens on Broadway. Is 7 to 10 years is average. So I'm used to the long process. And so consequently, you
Okay.
have
Mm-hmm.
many projects happening at once that
Yeah.
you're working on, some of which fall away and never see the light of day, some which come to fruition. You work on something and it only takes 2 years. You're like, only 2 years, amazing, right?
Yeah.
Versus something that can be 7, 10 years in the
Uh-huh.
making. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always have
yeah.
I always have about 5 projects at once.
Right. Me too. It's like, sometimes it's just abundance of ideas, and then it's quite depends, because to me it's like, but this is my kind of like impatient nature, or maybe it's the way my mind works, and I'm learning patience through this, because what I'm saying is I can have like five different ideas, and one can be for poetry, one can be for visual art, another for writing story, another for like coaching people around self-acceptance and authenticity, and all these
Yeah.
things sometimes come together like and like asking me, so which one you choosing, which one
Yeah.
it's like my brain is, if you don't have an answer right now, then we're going to feel shit, really shit. You have to have answer right now. And in the past I would be like in big self judgment around those things, because I would be like thinking, okay, so I have to like really focus only on my art,
Yeah.
because and then there were ideas of I heard from other people, oh, you have to focus on one thing, you cannot be doing all this stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. Oh,
yeah,
yes. I've been told that myself many, many
yeah.
times.
Yeah, but I find that versatility is my thing. This is
Yeah.
what I thrive. When I one day I can do visual art, and next day I don't even think about visual art. I think about, oh, that story feels appealing to me, so let's carry on with writing that story today. And the next day is poetry, or a little bit of singing, or something else. So yeah, so it's interesting. It's
You have
just
a
sometimes
non-linear
we
creative
cannot see.
process.
Yeah, yeah. It's just brain cannot see this, like, oh, it's actually not moving. The way the brain, like mind sees this, it's like, oh, you are not moving with this project anywhere. You're taking too many things at the same time. Yeah, it's that linear thinking of the mind. Yeah, but
Yeah.
the heart knows best, and
And I would say that's the linear conditioning. You've been
right,
told that that's
right,
the way to do it because
absolutely, yeah.
we were raised in a system that was actually like the schooling was built for factories. We were
Mm,
taught to do X, Y, and Z. There was
yeah,
even a bell that told us when to stop, where to go, what to do. We had a
Yeah.
teacher who stood at the front of the classroom, and we were in linear lines,
Mm.
and it was for productivity. So yes, in terms of direct productivity for a certain one thing to get accomplished or completed, yes, that is a way to do it, but it's not the only way, but it's the way that you were taught. So your brain is like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this because this is the way it's supposed to happen, versus, well,
Right.
my brain actually needs that stimulus from all different
Mm.
areas, that then actually, when I work with all these different, they all inform each other and they help each other be better.
Yeah. 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 It takes time to kind of mature in this, in this new way of seeing things like that. Because yeah, like you're saying, so it's definitely, judgment, self-judgment is internalized judgment
Yeah.
that we experience, right? And when we kind of like want to belong, then we learn the types of behavior that are accepted, and then we emulate that, because we don't know anything else, and we know that is going to keep us safe, so called. Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because this is very, obviously I know that, but I've never really phrased that to myself, that that my mind is still kind of like healing from, yeah, it's still healing from this linear conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
about that a lot because my life is so nonlinear.
Mm.
Because I've never been one that could do just one thing. I'm the multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate, multi-whatever you want to call it, creative
Yeah.
being, multi-dimensional being
Right.
in a world that wants me to do one thing.
Mm.
And that's never going to be, never has been, and it never will be. And so I spent lots of time dissecting it and thinking about it, and reframing it for myself ultimately. Because part of the self-acceptance is accepting that I am this multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate, creative, multi-dimensional being on this planet
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. It's yeah, exactly. It's yeah. And it's very easy to get lost in the story of the story we've been told and we've believed into, and about ourselves, about who we are, what we are, and yeah,
Yeah,
and
because
when
then
we
you could
yeah,
go to that, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do it
right,
the way everyone else does it? And
right,
that's
yeah,
just not, that's not the truth.
and then the mind, because it's conditioned that way, it keeps coming up with those stories that, oh, if you don't do it like other people do, then you will never succeed.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
because
and that is just not truth. That is,
right,
I mean,
yeah,
that if anything, I'm living proof of that.
right. I'm going to share just my recent experiences. It's very slowly starting to unfold, but what we just touched on, this is like a proof of that. I felt very inspired to start doing workshops, art workshops in person, which for a very long time I was hiding behind uh, attempts to do it online, because that wouldn't involve like actually speaking to people face to face, and being physically around people who may judge me. That was my fear.
Oh.
Yeah, the the like stepping into new environments, stepping into
Mm-hmm.
new crowd. That was my fear, because if fear of being judged, that I've been carrying in myself since childhood. So I decided I am doing at the moment a workaway experience, which is like it's kind of like a gypsy lifestyle. You go somewhere where people need like hands, to help them with some projects, and you get accommodation, you get food, and you live in like a community of people that you previously never met.
Mm-hmm.
So I embarked on this as a completely new experience, and like like life had thrown me into this to kind of like shatter all those barriers, all those fears
Yeah.
of rejection, and just kind of like start living life in full instead of living half life. And I started doing these workshops. I've only had one so far, but what's been happening is today I had a conversation with a guy who runs events for children with Down syndrome, autism, and things like that. And those children definitely, feel rejected at some point. I imagine.
Yeah.
And I was going through his Facebook profile and watching few videos, reading descriptions, and I felt like, like I was crying, I was
Mm.
crying, not with from the sadness, but from like, recognition of the spirit in those children,
The beauty.
and
Yeah.
that beauty, of them. And I thought, oh shit, isn't it where it's leading me, working with adults. And had I've done some workshops with children as well, but working with children who find really difficult to, to feel accepted and express themselves, in in their words, in their environments. So yeah, so like we step in onto the path, and we say that, okay, I'm gonna take a risk. I'm just going to do what my heart wants me to do. And then it's only beginning, but I can sense and I can smell the future. And that's where what my future is like, that those things just come to me where I am needed, those places open up, those doors.
I love that because you're going to give the gift that you didn't receive
Yeah, yeah,
ultimately. And now, of course, you're giving it to yourself through giving it to others as well. But
right.
like that's healing that part of yourself by working with others in many ways. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's a gift that you didn't get that you're now going to give to others. And that's so beautiful.
yeah,
It
yeah,
really is.
yeah, yeah. It is like we actually started the conversation with that. Yeah, that's you know
Yeah.
what got you into promoting self acceptance. It was something that you didn't feel like you had
That I got.
early. Yeah, yeah, like you got early in your life. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely beautiful. And so, at the moment, are you having rest cycle? I would call it.
Yes, I've had a nice rest cycle and
Right.
I'm ready to start again. As I said, I'm going to work on a book.
Okay.
Uh, and I have a new musical that I'm working on that I've been hired. It's a not I didn't create this. I've been brought in as a consultant
Okay.
to work on that project. So two projects are bubbling up now, and I'm feeling ready
Lovely.
again. I'm feeling
Wow.
ready again to dive back in.
Yeah. That sounds to me sounds very exciting to work with people on something that is bigger than like a personal project.
They're just different. They're
Yeah.
just different. The way in which you work is different. How you work is different. I enjoy both for different reasons. A personal project that I'm working on, I have, total control of and all of that,
Yeah.
sort of, right?
So
But,
yeah.
sort of. It's really not control at all, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you work with people, there's an energy and a flow, and I love collaborating. um it's not always easy collaboration, but it's really, really deeply rewarding. um
Yeah.
when it's good, it's really,
Right.
really good, you
Yeah,
know
I can imagine. Yeah, and yeah, on my last podcast, I shared my vision of the future, on creating creative hubs, and like pockets of space and time where people come together from different disciplines and collaborate and make something entirely new. And at the same time, those hubs are places where we run workshops for people who have given up on life,
Mm.
like people, like homeless people. And like today I had this call with that person who runs those events for children with autism and Down syndrome. Then that could be definitely something to look into. And yeah, and this is, I haven't done anything like that before, but I can sense how rewarding this can be already, even just having that in my in the sphere of my imagination.
Yeah, for about
Yeah.
10 years, I ran a nonprofit called One Company that was it served artists. I had retreats that were free, that I really brought people together, like you're saying, from various
Yeah.
disciplines. And it was so great. It was so rewarding. Now that the pandemic sort of ended that, and then some things
Hmm.
shifted, but that collective of coming together of like souls, but from different modalities,
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
I can
it's
imagine.
just because it
Yeah.
just sparks innovation and creativity
Mm.
in profound ways, because it's not like everyone's doing the same thing and comes together and has that same point of view and we're all like
Right.
agreeing with each other.
Right.
It's, oh, you do that, oh, that's interesting, well, I do this, well, oh, well, what if we brought that together, what does that
Uh-huh.
mean, how does
Right.
that shift the conversation, how
Right.
does that create a new story? And they're really fun, they're really, really, really fun.
Yeah.
So I love that you're doing this.
Right. When you just said those things that that you don't always agree, and there must be like natural friction, present. Then that occurred to me, like this is that chaos theory. Like
Yeah,
you have chaos, and then clarity emerges from that.
yeah.
But first everything is like, it's like chaotic, and parts don't match. Yeah, on yeah, and it takes time. And yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, I was curious about your project, your musical. So, what is your role as a consultant? What is your role in that
I'm
project?
in that project, I'm a story consultant. So they're
Okay,
bringing me in, they've written a script, and they
right.
bring me in to look at the script and give notes and then work with the writer to continue to develop the story.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
then from there, I'll transition into what they call an executive producer position, where I'll give not only story notes, but also notes on the marketing, notes on how on choices they make of director, a choreographer, of it's a consulting position where the
Hmm.
producer of the project has an ear, has somebody to really bounce ideas. Speaking of collaboration,
Okay.
bounce
Yeah.
ideas off
Yeah.
of that has gone before them, because this is a new producer who has never produced a musical before, and so they brought me on because of my years of training and expertise and having been
Right.
the guide. I'm the guide
Yeah.
in this one,
Right.
in
The
this
guy.
hero's
Yeah.
journey, I'm the guide
Yeah. Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
they've brought in.
Yeah. I was just actually thinking now, when you were talking about this, do you know your human design chart?
I'm a generator.
You are a okay. I thought you are either generator because you are involved in so many things all the time, or you would be projector, which is more like a guide, like
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Cool, cool. And the book, is that nonfiction or is that a novel?
nonfiction. It's a nonfiction
Nonfiction.
book. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a nonfiction book about the intersection of creativity and vulnerability.
Oh, right. Nice. To me, there is that very strong connection between sensitivity and creativity. And sensitivity and vulnerability are kind of, on the same
They're related.
hand in hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
they walk hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you are willing to share your sensitivity, if you
Yeah.
are willing to open up and just say how it is, what you
Yeah.
are like, yeah, because that's probably, maybe that's the topic for another conversation. Like when we are moving now from the time when sensitivity and being feminine wasn't very accepted.
Yeah.
It's more like this patriarchy and very masculine approach to life. So doing and yeah, like you were talking about emotions. Yeah, do your emotions, but not not in public view. Not in,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So yeah, that would be great to talk. To make that as a topic of a chat. And so yeah, so let's wrap up. Let's wrap up now. And so tell me where people can find you, and what's happening now when it comes to your coaching as well. Are you still
Yeah.
taking on clients?
I am. Yeah,
You
absolutely.
are.
I am. I am still taking clients. And in fact, in the new year in 24, I will have some new offerings class-wise, course-wise as well on
Nice.
storytelling specifically
Oh, cool.
for marketing, but also storytelling to tell more traditional storytelling if you're writing a
Right.
book or a play or what have you.
Mhm.
So I'll have both coming up in January. So yeah, and
Right.
then yes, one-on-one clients.
Nice.
I still take a few one-on-one clients. So and you can find me
Good.
at the Nick Demos, TheNickDemos on I'm on almost all of them. Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. And my website is thenickdemos.com as well.
Nice. Brilliant. So good luck with writing the book.
Oh, thank
All the
you.
best.
It's not
All
going to
the
be a
best.
7-year project. That is not going to be seven
No,
years.
no, yeah. Have you got like do you know how it's going to be? Do you have like what do you call it, like a synopsis or skeleton of the structure? That's the word,
I have an
structure. Right?
outline. I have an outline right now.
Outline, yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's as far as I've really gotten. And
Okay,
I started writing the first chapter. Um,
right.
I tend to write I love to write. This is very strange. My process is I go in spurts. I will write for a couple days
Uh-huh.
and then not at all for weeks.
Okay.
And I love to write on a plane. So I'm going to Boston next week. So I have to fly across the United States, which is
Uh-huh.
it's a 6-hour plane ride.
Yeah.
So I will write for 6 hours on the plane. Nobody's
Uh-huh.
talking to me. It's just me on the plane with my laptop and I'll
Uh-huh.
write for 6 hours. I already know that. Both directions. I'm
Uh-huh.
going to get 12 hours worth of writing time.
Right. You're
I
looking
know
forward to
that.
that.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. That's next
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
excited for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's sort of how my process goes. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know when the book will be complete, but I'm not pressuring myself this one.
Right. Yeah,
Just want to let
cool.
it flow naturally.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the best way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yeah. Follow your inner authority. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for
Right,
having
Nick.
me. Thanks
So
for this conversation.
thank you very much and hope to speak to you again.
Sounds good.